Citizens of the universe, welcome back to Neutral Lens Podcast episode 9. Another week is in the rearview mirror, and we have some things to discuss, so let's get into it. And before we begin, if you guys have any questions you want answered, topics you want discussed, at Neutral Lens Pod on all socials. I'll get to it in a future episode. Right, here we go. Question number 1. So we have a freshman boy who is in a class, seems like a history class, with a girl that he has a crush on. They've talked maybe 3 to 4 times, and she's friendly to him and she seems like she enjoys his company. He wants to ask her out, but he isn't sure if she'll say yes. He does have her number. She did give it to him at some point, and they have texted a couple times, but not that much. So the question is, does this girl like me, or like him, I guess? And should he ask her out? Now listen, I'm not an expert in girls. Okay, I don't think anybody is, not even girls. But if dating is your goal, then you honestly should just go for it. I know a lot of people are kind of scared to ask them out because they want the answer to be yes, or maybe because they've developed a friendship and they don't want to throw away that friendship, because it's like, oh, if I ask her out, she says no, she's not interested in me like that, then it's going to make it weird. But if dating is your end goal, I don't think you should just settle for friends. I think you need to go for it. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if the answer is no. I think it's going to be more detrimental to you to simply remain friends and just wonder what if. The biggest question anyone ever has is what if. You know what I mean? What if I did this? What if I did that? And I think don't put yourself in a position where you have to ask that question. Obviously, there are some cases where you just will, because you go on vacation, you meet a girl, you never see her again. It's what if? But in this specific scenario, you have a lot more control of that. So do not be in a position where you're going to ask yourself, what if, months, years down the line. I think that, again, if you want to date, you should go for it. And just hope for the best, But as to whether she likes you or not, I mean, you have to look for a few things. I don't think you can ever be certain, just because every person is different, and it can be really, really hard to read people. It's really impossible to read somebody perfectly without directly asking them for their opinion. But you can look for a few things, like body language. Is she turning towards you? Is she, playing with her hair a lot? Things like that. Or just how much does she start the conversation? I can't talk today. Does she seem genuinely invested in the conversation that she's having with you? Or is it just something that she's doing to pass the time? Is she looking at you during the conversation? Is she looking elsewhere? Does she start the text chain, or is she the one to always end it? She could ghost you at some point or something like that. Can you find a lot to talk to? And if you can't find something to talk to, does she find something to talk to? Things like that. And I think those are all just clues as to whether or not she actually cares about you. And it may not be an indication of her having a crush on you or that she's interested in a relationship, but at least you know that there's actually some interest there, rather than you're kind of just friends and nothing more. If you know what I'm saying. But there is some at least interest in getting closer to you. The fact that you got a number, to be honest, is a win, considering you've only talked to her 3 to 4 times. So I would consider that a win. I don't know how you asked. I don't know how that came about, but if she was excited, then that's a good sign. If she's kind of just yeah, okay, it's not a bad sign, but it's not a good sign. So, just looking for those kinds of signals. I can't help you. I can't help people determine that without them having the observational skills to go and look for signs. I think people desperately look around for signs, but you just be practical. Is she showing interest in you at all? And if not, don't be butthurt about it, I guess. Another thing that you can look for is, have you noticed any sort of physical change? She maybe dresses a little bit different, acts a little bit different around you, always says hi when she comes in. If you sit next to her, if you don't sit, I don't know. But looking for any sort of physical clues besides just your interactions with her. If you miss school one day, does she ask you where you were? Anything to kind of indicate that she's genuinely putting in interest and effort to watch and like keep track of you. That is always a good sign, I think. Of course, again, not guaranteed. But another thing that you have to keep in mind is like, what have you shown her? Because if you've shown absolutely zero interest, it might put her off too. If you are super closed off and you show like that you have no interest beyond friendship whatsoever, it can actually make her kind of be like, oh, this guy's not that interested in me. And maybe, I'm going to look for somebody else. I think, I don't know this for certain, but it feels to me like girls move on quicker than guys do. Like guys kind of get attached to a girl and they kind of stay attached for a long time. And I think that they can like develop crushes on like a lot of girls just because like he thinks they're all cute. But girls, I feel like they kind of switch from one to another really, really quickly. So yeah, you have to keep her interest somehow. But like, don't be a creep about it. Don't be stupid. Don't ask things that are really weird. But just seem like you're interested in hanging out more and getting to know her better. I think that will, help you out a lot too. And if you haven't started doing that, start doing that just a little bit. Be very subtle. See if she gets really interested in it or if she doesn't really care. That's a good sign as well. Okay. Next topic is, how do I decipher the news in the modern world of media? The thing about modern media is that nowadays it's all about narratives. It's not about truth, right? It's trying to spin whatever story you can for somebody or against somebody. And I think like obviously politics is the most obvious example. You see it a lot in sports. I mean, you see it everywhere, but politics is the easiest place to see it, where it's you tell half truths to spin the story one way or another, whoever you're for or against. But like, yeah, in sports too, like it's a world of clickbait, and it's not even necessarily the media's fault that they do this, but they're forced to keep up. Like if your title is not interesting and not going to get people to click on it, like, oh my God, look at this person and his crazy drama with his teammate. If you kind of just title it what it actually is, two guys had a little bit of a talk afterwards about what they can improve after a loss. No one's going to read that, over, do these two star players have beef? Is their season over? Like that's going to get much more attention and it's going to get clicks. It's going to get views. You put all your ads on the sides, if it's like a digital article, and bam, you've made like $1,000. So, I think that's just something to keep in mind. And again, it's not really anyone's fault. I guess you could say it's everyone's fault because it's cultural at this point, but they need to clickbait, and they need to, generate narratives that are going to get people to watch them. And I think that you just have to look for inconsistencies. Like if, let's just say you see there's two sides of it. Again, going back to politics, there's always two sides, right? So you see what one side is saying, then you see what the other side is saying. And anything that they're both kind of saying is probably going to be true. And then the differences is where you start kind of inferring like the answer is somewhere in between. Like neither side is really going to tell you the whole truth. They're going to tell you the parts that make them look better. So it's like, okay, well, this happened, but then this also happened. So the actual like combined truth is probably somewhere in between, considering both the good and the bad of both sides, right? And like look for not necessarily what they think, but look for the facts, right? Look for the facts that they're telling. But again, you have to be skeptical about it because they're only going to give you part of the facts, so they're going to try and spin it. And also like, don't trust people's intentions. Like don't trust people when they say, oh, look at this person, he's clearly trying or intending to do this and this with his actions. Like again, like I said earlier in the podcast, nobody can read people. It doesn't apply to just girls. It's everybody. Like you can't read people or their intentions that well. You can't be perfect about it. So it's so pointless. You can spin it in so many ways. You can have a genuinely nice act or a genuine act of kindness be twisted into being some sort of creepy, manipulative, horrible act just because you don't like the person, or a horrendous act you can spin and be like, oh, he's just like being protective of this other person, or he's kind of justified in his reactions just because you like this guy. So you can kind of spin and say, oh yeah, this and that. But it's like, it's never, I would never trust people when they say this person's intending to do this and that one is not based in fact or something they said, but it's like, oh yeah, this action. So they're clearly doing this. Well, you don't know. So that's something that you should just be very skeptical about. And I also think like the biggest scam is like watching opinion-based shows where they're always like, oh yeah, this is great or this is horrible. I mean, it's fine to watch them, but I would just say don't fall into the trap of like letting other people's opinions form your opinions. Like you can watch people's opinions and see what they think about it to have them help you corroborate information that you've gathered. But you have to make the decision by yourself. Whether you agree with what the person said or whether you disagree with that person, you have to formulate your own opinions based on the knowledge and the facts that like you're getting from both sides of the story. Again, not just one, but both. Because again, if you just get one side, you're going to agree with what that person says because they're only giving you the things that support them. So, take in from both sides, listen to kind of how they see the information, but also like see the inconsistencies. If there's two sides of the story, put it all together and make your own decision. Okay. So let's go to last topic. How do I stop hating myself? I mean, like this is a problem that I have too. I'm extremely, extremely self-critical. I will talk about myself all the time. Mainly to me, not to other people. But there's like cliche ways of just, oh, stop hating yourself. Why are you comparing yourself to other people? Why, if you can't accomplish your goals, just stay patient, do one step at a time. Don't feel like you have to do big achievements, blah, blah, blah. There's so many ways that are, yes, they're true, but they're super, super cliche and they don't tell you how. And to be honest, part of it is like listening to your own hate talk. Like, some people are like, oh, don't let it affect, like, let's just say someone else is talking bad about you. And everyone's just like, oh, don't listen to them. They're being hateful. But it's like, maybe listen to it a little bit and just see if they have any merit. So, for example, like if you don't like the way that you respond in certain situations, like if it's very emotionally charged, maybe you get super angry, you say things that you regret, you don't like that about yourself. So, the step one is literally recognizing that that's a thing. And then if it's something that you can change, why haven't you changed it and how can you change it? So like, why do you actually hate yourself? You have to recognize and own those flaws before you can do anything about it. Like you shouldn't be proud of negative things about yourself. Like, of course, be proud of yourself, embrace yourself, but you shouldn't like embrace everything because again, there's bad things. But don't act like it's some like game-breaking, horrible, end of the world thing. Just recognize that that's also a thing that's happening and try and fix it. You can't fix everything, of course, but there's a lot of things you can fix. So if you like have a bad work ethic and you hate that about yourself, well, why do you have a bad work ethic? Are you just lazy? Does nothing motivate you? How can you find things to motivate you? How can you, make it maybe more fun, whatever it is in your work to do, to make yourself, want to do more work, or maybe understanding how that work is going to lead to prosperity later and working towards those goals. It's like, I think I've talked about this before in a previous episode. It's about purpose, right? You have to find a purpose. And I think that a lot of the times when you end up in these negative mental cycles, like you don't really have a purpose. You don't have anything that you want to do, nothing that interests you. So you end up getting into these vicious cycles. But if you can find something to change it, if it's just like a mentality change, or if it's just like, your mindset, your perspective of like, instead of just making this into work, but it, you enjoy the work, but it's like you're lazy. How can I make myself work more? Are there certain goals you want to accomplish? Set deadlines. How can I make myself want to get out of bed and do this? Are there certain accomplishments, things you want to improve? Maybe even set times, like a routine every afternoon from 4 to 6 p.m. I'm going to work on this. Something to just motivate you to actually consistently work, for example. And thereby, if you can fix the problem, then you can fix the problem of hating yourself. So, but there are some things that you can't change, like, you want longer legs or something. So you have short legs. I think it's more of like a mentality shift away from negativity, because like negativity is easy, positivity is hard. It's easy for you to just say like, I want this, why can't I have this? But like not having what you desire does not mean you need to hate yourself for, like nobody gets everything in life. So what do you have that you actually like? What are you actually proud of? And lean on those. Like you don't have to be so focused on like, oh, I'm sad, I don't have this, I don't have that. But it's like, what do you have? Like, let's just say you hate, I don't know, the way you look, but you like the fact that you are intelligent, that you are smart. Okay, so focus on that aspect of yourself. Do things that are more attuned towards that. So like maybe getting into logic puzzles, problem solving, things that stimulate your brain, like as hobbies, instead of things that maybe are more, I gotta look good, I don't look good. You just don't be so focused on the negative parts about yourself if that's something that you kind of can't change. I think just embrace the positivity and don't worry so much about the negativity, because again, like everyone has things that they don't like about themselves. There's things to like and dislike about everything, and just focusing on the negative sends you down a really bad cycle. And a good line for that is, I don't know where I came across. I may have made it up. I don't think so though. But like, you will never be anything special if all you want to be is somebody else. If that's all you want to be, you will spend your life chasing the shadows of other people around you. And what that really means is like, everyone is different. You don't need to be a certain way or look a certain way because you think that's what society wants from you. Again, it doesn't mean to just embrace your flaws and be proud of it. You should go work on them if you genuinely think that they're flaws. But it means like you shouldn't hate that aspect of you, and focus more on the things that you do like, and focus on what makes you unique, focus on what makes you special. Because again, like everyone is different. If you just focus on trying to do things that you find cool in other people, you're just going to end up like everybody else. So be yourself. Like, you have flaws. So recognize them, own them, work on it. But don't hate yourself for it, if that makes sense. So it's just a mentality thing, I think. I mean, obviously, because like hating yourself is a mentality thing. But yeah. All right, I think that'll do it for episode 9. So thank you guys for listening as always, and I will see you next week for episode 10.